Hey YouTubers, so today we're going to be assembling these bits and bobs together, and then I'm going to show you why it's so useful to put one of these on your own battery charger. Okay, so first things first, we're going to be cutting this lid to fit that display into there. And to do that, I'm going to be using my Dremel. Okay, so we're going to do a bit of maths with the vernier. Set the vernier to 0, measure the housing. There's 25, but we're going to ignore that, set that to 0. Measure the total dimension, see that 32, so we want half of that dimension, which is back to 0, set it to 16, close enough, set the lock and use that to score down each side, and that'll be exactly the right mark of where we want to be. I'll show you that again. I'll just set the camera up. So set the vernier to 0. Measure the housing, which is the distance we're going to be taking away from the case. So that's 44. So we just set that to 0 there. Measure the total length of the enclosure, which is roughly 20. We want a distance of 10. So just set that to around about 10. And then a couple of score lines on the housing. And that's where we're going to Dremel out. Now you can't quite see that, so I'll just put a bit of pencil on there to improve that. Okay, so it can be a bit rough. So we're just going to chop back to those edges and then just do a bit of tri-fit and see how we go getting that sensor in there. Before we do that, I'll just take that lid off. Show you how a bit of this goes. And if you wait a little minute, the plastic just hardens up, a bit soft to start with, and then you can just pull it away. I'll just go all the way around that and cut that out. Okay, so it's gone all the way around, so I'll now just break out like that. Just clean the edges back. And now I'm just going to chip away at that until it's just the right dimension. About 1 millimetre to go that way and about 2 millimetres to go that way. Okay, so we've got that pretty tight. These clips are a bit tricky. They don't like pushing in against the housing, so they just break one of those, but we should be right. Just get that on show here. It doesn't want to go in. Okay. I don't imagine that's coming out in a hurry. Okay, step 1 complete. Now we'll move on to the lower housing. Okay, here I've used the vernier again. Don't know if you can see that. I've just marked in the centre there, which is just halfway between these two edges and just 8mm up from the bottom. And now we're just going to drill a couple of holes in that. I'm sure we can do this one-handed. Proving a bit difficult, but you get the idea. So it's just 2 4mm holes. I think 3 actually, 3mm holes. So I'm just going to drill those and just use that to open up this slot. I should Okay, so got this 2-core heavy duty red and black cable, and now you can see that fits through there beautifully. So we'll move on to the next step, doing a bit of wiring. Okay, so we're ready for step one of the soldering. So what we've got here is for the signal wires, the red and the yellow are connected to the one side of the feed-in. Then the feed-in is also connected to these two wires, which we'll be putting a fuse on in a minute, which comes back out to the output red wires, and then we've got the grounds connected here into the shunt, and from the shunt back into the ground. I can do a diagram later if anybody's really interested. Okay, now there's a nicely soldered up. Just snip off the rough ends. They're not going to do much. Get in the way. And now I'm just going to put some heat shrink over each of those so that they don't touch together. And I'm also going to put a connector on for the fuse. Okay, so one's on already. I'm going to put this one on. Okay, so they're on. Find a suitable fuse, maybe about 15 amp, and I'm going to put those onto those blades, just like that. Okay, so I've put an inner and outer heat shrink over each of the cables there. Okay, for the last little bit, we get this boot and just cut the tip off it to push it down over the cable. I'm going to strip back this wire. We're going to get these terminals and put them on the wire, and then use my crimpers to crimp those wires down, and the end result will look like that. And then what I sometimes do is just put a bit of solder on those as well to heat them up and make sure there's a mechanical bond as well as the compression. And then I think we're ready for the last step. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see that there, but just put a bit of solder on the tip of the crimp. Just hold on to the copper on the end there. Hopefully those will still go into the connectors. We'll just try that now. Okay, we've got those, I think they're 30 amp Andersons on. It's a huge pain. I might show you a bit more detail on that another day. Now we're ready to get the lid on and button it up. Okay, so we've got it all wrapped up and finished together now. This is my older one where I've got a different connector for the inputs and outputs as well as the Anderson 30 amp connectors. And the way it works is, here's my charger. This is my extension cable to the battery. Great thing about these Andersons, you cannot put them the wrong way around. So the battery's over there, just on the floor. Got the charger connected here. Normally you'd turn the charger on and you'd get to see on the charger what's happening with the lights. It doesn't really tell you what's happening. The idea here, sorry for the wobbly camera, is when you connect your box of tricks, then we can see the battery voltage all the time, and then you can either leave the charger on all the time and at least you can see what the battery voltage is, or if I turn the charger on you get to see what the charger is actually doing. So this has been on this morning, so you can see it's already up to 14 volts. The charger's already dropping down pretty much to 0. But normally when you turn that on, you'd see up to the 4 amps charge from the charger, and you'd also see the charger cycling through its different modes. I don't think it'll do it just now, where it'll actually over voltage and then let the voltage drop on the battery. Okay, so that's my little battery volt ammeter, especially for your charger. If you like that, don't forget to subscribe.